Yeah, the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association has been around since 1992. We represent the independent sector of the oil and gas industry. What that means really is, and it's changed over the years, but we primarily focus our efforts on the companies that drill and produce the oil and natural gas in the state of Louisiana and the service companies that support them. In many cases, those are larger independents, companies like Hillcore, which is the largest producer of oil in the state, Chesapeake, and others. And in many cases, it's companies like Joey Jacobs in North Louisiana up in his area that's producing 2 MCF of gas a day out of a few wells, and a service company that may have been handed down for generations with just 3 employees. And a lot of you members have oil and gas and service companies and people throughout your district, and so I know you're very familiar with the hard work ethic that our industry represents. It's no doubt that we are facing challenging times as an industry right now. The price of oil having plummeted all the way down to negative $37 at one point in time when it closed out the day, and then trading at low as negative 55. Started out with a war between Russia and OPEC and their decisions to try and destroy the American energy producer. And then as the globe began to respond to COVID-19 and we shut the economies around the world and just absolutely collapsed globally the demand for oil, where if you look at it, we consume 100 million barrels of oil per day roughly globally. And in the month of April, we saw that decrease by almost 30 million barrels per day. In the month of May, we're seeing that again, although we've seen some supply reduction through some of the efforts of OPEC. But unfortunately, the supply reduction that we're seeing here in the United States isn't because there's a coordinated effort or decision by our government. It's because, unfortunately, companies are shutting in production, they're closing their doors, and they're going bankrupt because in the current market conditions, they're not able to survive. The question I get asked the most is, how does this compare to the 80s? I was born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana. I was a child of the 80s. I saw what happened to our community when the price of oil fell, as they flooded the market with the world with oil in order to bring an end to the Cold War. I saw what happened to our communities and the loss of jobs. And it's something that everyone from Acadiana wears on their shoulder on a daily basis. And when asked how this crisis compares, every single time they get the same response: this is unlike anything we've ever seen. When you don't have a place to sell oil, never before producers in Louisiana have been told that they cannot sell a barrel of oil. And they can't do it because there's no place to put it. The break-even point, according to a survey we did of our members, is $37. Today we're at $25. So that means that those companies, that every barrel of oil they're producing, they're losing $12 per barrel. For natural gas, that break-even point is $2.01. Prices today are at $1.80. They're losing 20 cents on every MCF of gas that is produced in the state. And it's great that we're moving to phase 1. And then hopefully phase 2 and phase 3 will be behind it, and we can begin opening our economy again, and hopefully the world will follow. But for our industry, the demand for oil isn't going to be fixed overnight with a phase 1 opening. This is going to be a long, difficult time for the oil and gas industry. We represent around 33,000 direct jobs. Lauren Scott indicated that the indirect jobs are 2.7 times for every job that we create. We directly employ 33,000 plus people, representing over $3 billion in wages as the highest wage producing industry in the state. We are, according to our members in our survey, are at risk of losing 60 to 70% of our industry in the next 90 days. Once PPP runs out, we can expect the layoffs that are already at 23% roughly to jump to 60%. 4 out of 5 of our producers have indicated they are already shutting in production, closing their wells, closing the valves. In some cases, they might be able to flip it back on, but in most cases, it's going to require an oil price that is far above the break-even point. And likely, in many cases, the price of oil will never get back to a point where it makes sense to bring the production back online, and we will lose those wells, those severance taxes, those royalty checks, and the jobs that go with it. I know you've got tough challenges to do in this committee. We look forward to working with all of you and the chairman as we tackle these challenges together. And with that, I will close my remarks. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.